This just highlights the inconsistency in policies that America has promoted, which has undermined its own stance and integrity. There are so many people who are being mistreated around the world. Why not those people? Why the white South Africans?
Right.
Why is it because he's been misinformed? Secondly, interview the white South Africans. I've heard interviews, and many of them object to this. They don't like it because this is where they have made their home. They call themselves Africans, and they're committed to being in Africa and working for Africa. So they are actually taking exception to the fact that these are the people who some people have left there to give a negative impression of themselves and their achievements. And if you want to lay claim to a home, you can't suddenly pack out because things have got hot. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So these people are not representative of the rest of white South Africans. Not that I'm a white South African, but clearly looking at the comments and some of the assessments that have been made there, and even talking to some of the white South Africans, I have white South African friends, they clearly are not happy because one of the key things that defines them is that we have committed to Africa, right, come rain or sunshine, and we are staying here because we are Africans. Right. And they have laid claim to that. So if you have laid claim to that, where are you going again? And on top of that, if you want to use generalization and say white or black, the white South Africans are the ones having the best of South Africa, not the worst of it. So if anything at all, you should take the black South Africans to America. Yeah. Not to mention that they even have some claim, yeah, to America because their fathers and forefathers worked to build that country. So I think that this is a wrong move on his part, but as I said, I'm really not concerned with what he does. Right. He does his own business, right, but this is my view, yeah, on the matter. But more importantly, which is a trend, as I came here at the traffic lights, I saw chairs outside on the street under the trees, and I looked opposite. I said, why would people be sitting, so many people be sitting on chairs outside in the street? And I looked to the left, and it's IOM, International Organization of Migration. So I said, if these are Ghanaians, where are you migrating to? So this a phenomenon of people running away from Africa is, what would I say, pervasive. Everybody that feels that, there's a small trouble somewhere, they should run. So let me just ask the question. If our farm here is very hard and you're not, you're not happy, you said the food is not good, who do you want to cultivate the farm and pound the fufu for you to eat if you have run away? Are you with me? So we have to commit to it. Just as our people in the diaspora, some of them have come here and committed. The key thing is what people envision for the future.
Right.
Human beings, if you don't have something better for them ahead, they lose hope. And these people are just showing that they no longer have any hope. Now, they may have some reasons because the banner of hope is not exactly flying vigorously all over Africa. But on the other hand, there are clear signs globally that it's not going well elsewhere either. If you go to most of these Western capitals now and look at some of the poverty which is obvious, yeah, on the streets there, you wonder where these people are running to. Because definitely nobody is going to get up from their comfortable chair there and give that chair to you. You're going to join the bottom of the queue. And when you see what is happening there, people don't know. That is why they're trooping. So all of these things, I'll rather say, look, let's maintain our vision for how we build our nations. Let's have good governance that gives hope to people. And let's create a system where we can all contribute to building that. We may have differences of opinions, but that shouldn't translate into dividing the ship in half, because no boat travels as half this side, half that side. We have to learn how to manage on the same boat and paddle in the same direction to make progress. It's as simple as that.
But what would you also say in respect of people who are now calling for the unification of Africa, particularly because of the current, if you like, wave of leaders that we're seeing spring up across the continent?
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, the unification of Africa has always been there. It didn't start now. During Marcus Garvey's period, Kwame Nkrumah's period, it was when they set up the Pan-African movement and the Pan-African message and the Pan-African vision. It is just that it became blurry because our politics degenerated into a politics of me, myself, and my people only. So they couldn't even see their community, they can't see their nation, let alone how do we see Africa. Are you with me? So that blurriness dimmed the message. But then we have seen all the consequences of that. All those people who argued against Pan-Africanism, they now have a question to answer because all the effects of not being a strong Pan-African continent has been shown clearly. We have lost grounds. We have been pushed to the margins. 3.1% of global trade.
Yeah.
You know, and our currencies are very susceptible to sneezing.
Absolutely.
Are you with me?
Yeah, me too.
Because who are you going to negotiate with?
Right.
Imagine you all want to be individual countries. Imagine even a country like ourselves, 30 million people. You want to go and negotiate with China. How many million people are there? Even the people in one province are more than you.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
And just because they roll the red carpet out for you for diplomatic reasons, you think you're also somewhere. Are you with me? So we have to judge that, look, there's economies of scale and there's synergies that come about by our differences.
Right.
And if we can come together, we will have a much better deal. But it's easier said than done.
Right.
Because people's, what would I say, motivations are very myopic. All this business that we had during the Pan-African era was simply because everybody wanted to be president. So they could not yield the sovereignty of their country to one unitary state. And people use that to divide us. Even in our own countries, we quarrel over the chair. The minute somebody sits on the chair, the rest of the people are shaking the chair for him to fall out so they can sit in.
Right.
And then the next group have a turn at that. So we've not really understood what we are doing. We are not meant to have an adversarial democracy.
Right.
We're meant to have a constructive democracy backed by institutions. And if you don't have those institutions and you engage in adversarial politics, you'll be chasing chickens and small things and lose sight of the fact that the ship is gone out, is going into the rocks. And when it hits the rocks, we all go down. So these are some of the things which have not inured to the unification of Africa because people's ideas of our democratic processes, the governance, and also how we position ourselves geopolitically has been too myopic. But now the rest of the world has moved on.
Right.
And we're beginning to see that there's even a shift in geopolitical power, geopolitical economy, geopolitical trade. Now the question we ask ourselves is, so where do we take a stance?
Right.
Are we going to stay where we are? How do we move? And if you don't have your own guiding vision of who you want to become, how you want to do it, it's very difficult for you to gauge and take a step. And therefore, people want to play both sides. You want to have your cake and eat it, and nobody takes you seriously. Why do you think people have taken this young man in Burkina so seriously?
Yeah.
Because he said, no, I stand here and I back it with my life. And I'm not moving 1 inch. Then people start to take you seriously because they know that what you say is what you mean. Now, you may not be 100% correct. Are you with me? But at least if people see that the form of governance that you're bringing inures to their collective success, they themselves will support you. They will back you. You know, and these are the things that we have failed to achieve. So when we talk of Pan-African unity, etc., if you're not united in your community, in your house, how do you achieve this larger one?
Yeah.
And all of that comes from a sense of commitment and dedication to a collective vision that will inure to the benefit of all of us. And when people see that that is being portrayed clearly by the leadership, they will rally to it. And I always use this example for the young people who don't know what trocos were and who don't know what mommy wagon was. You know, in those early days when you come from boarding school, in a mommy wagon, you alight at the lorry station and you take your chop box, put it on a troco, and people will push it. And the trocos will go to different parts of the town. And the passengers will be following, they'll disperse. Now I ask myself, common sense, have you ever seen anybody who came from a journey, alighted, and is following a troco which his luggage is not on it? Are you with me? Everybody goes where their luggage is.
Right.
So if you cannot get the common interests, the interests of the common people onto the national agenda, they will follow you. Because why should I push? My interests are not on board. This is just for you and a few people. I'm not interested. And they won't tell you, but you see by their actions.
Finally, on this subject matter, you spoke quite eloquently and forcefully about strengthening institutions.
Yes.
So, in your own estimation, how do we strengthen the institutional imbalances on the continent to ensure that the vision that you are talking about is realized?
I think first of all we have to be clear the strategy that we want to use. At the formative stage of these nations, the independent nations were not many. So the strategy was that if we created a strong Pan-African framework, others, as they became independent, will fall into it. And that centralized command structure would do for all of us. But as too many people now have become independent, it's now, you can't go back to that. So we've gone back to regional blocks, where you build the regional blocks, integrate them, and hope to bring them together. Whatever approach you use, the end result is that we want to have a collective where our weight in the world will counterbalance the other influences. How we do it depends on the situation we're in, where we are. But whatever method you use, it has to first come from the institutions within the country itself.
Right.
And right now, when you see the variation, if you want to plot the variation in types of governance that we have in Africa, you have this one, which is me, my family, and we are here forever and ever. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Me, my group of friends, in khakis, we are here also until we say so. And then you have the ones who are democratic, so-called democracies.
Exactly.
So me, my party, and my friends, and provided we can keep buying elections, we'll stay here forever. And then you have those who are making a genuine effort at it, but also constrained by many things. When you have this range, it's now very difficult. But so we have to go back to the basics of saying, so how do we first formulate at least a common approach for the countries, so that when we put them together, we won't have this range. And it's not a panacea where we say it is this pill, swallow it, and you will all be okay. I think that it is going to come up by itself. I think that we have tested all these things. Frankly speaking, right now, democracy is under test. And the youth in Africa now are not the youth of yesterday. They are not going to give you the room for long brofosem and all of that. Are you with me? So they are watching. If they see that where you are going is not going to inure to their success, they are not willing to sacrifice the rest of their 30, 40 years on this earth waiting for procedures and processes. Are you with me? So we are under pressure to come up with good governance within a common framework that ensures that our collective interests are on board. And we must abandon this idea of wanting to be holier than the Pope want to be more democratic than the Queen, where we think that just because we have parties, our responsibility is to fight each other to the death, and whoever gets it takes it. Are you with me? That is adversarial democracy. We are not ready for that. When your institutions are not strong, you don't engage in adversarial democracy. Even in America, where the institutions are well grounded, they engage in it up to a point. And then when they realize that there's gridlock, they back off. Are you with me? They even impeached the president. Did he go? He didn't go. Are you with me? So when you have these institutions and you begin driving it, you know, you have to understand where you are at your stage of development and ensure that you are a bit more, I would say, modest in your expectations and gravitate more towards centrism, where we seek to get a common ground. And if you look at the spectrum of countries in Africa in terms of good to poor performance now, those countries that have managed to maintain a centrist position, galvanizing their countries to get their people together, are now the ones making the most progress. Example, Tanzania. Tanzania never had a coup.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
They had one-party state.
Yeah.
They didn't fight over it and spill the soup in the pot. Are you with me? They just took the time until they got to a stage, are you with me, where they introduced multi-party democracy. And even then, it was not the kind of strong adversarial multi-party politics that many people have adopted. They always had a sense of who they were, because that initial stage gave them chance to build a foundation for a nation state and the concept of their own concept of nationhood. And those countries that have been able to do that, Seretse in Botswana, you know, they have had more stable government and now are making faster progress. You know, but those countries that drank deep from the Pito pot of democracy and got drunk on it, they spent years destroying each other. And even now, this one is going and this one is pulling back. And we are not making the kind of progress. And neither have we built the kind of institutions that underpin a strong democracy.
Listen, viewers, I'm being lectured on my show this morning, and I'm learning a lot. I'm sure you're also learning a lot. Such an honor, such a great honor. Let me welcome Dr. Sylvia. So, Doc, good morning. I'm sure you know you are also excited to see Dr. Busakara.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
This is my third time of meeting him. I think he has forgotten.
No.
Department of Agri-Economics.
Yes.
Agribusiness.
Yes. At the
Yes.
yes.
I think a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But
Yes.
then you were a flag bearer at that
Yeah.
time. So
Oh, that will be more than a couple of years ago. That's 2012.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure he's coming back as a flag bearer again.
Not necessarily.
Okay. Prof.
Yeah.
Yes. You've listened to the eloquent submission by Dr. Busakara in relation to. In fact, he summarized Africa's problems and prophet solutions in 5 minutes.
I'll tell you.
So, what's your view?
When Doug speaks, we are speechless. So I don't know what to add. But once we are here, we just have to add something.
Yeah.
Good morning, once again.
Morning, my brother.
to
Good
Doug
morning,
and
Prof. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
and Sylvia as well. And good morning to your viewers. The one is sent the topics for us to consider this morning. The first one that I went through was U.S. welcomes first white refugees. When did it become a story? In our world today, if a dog bites a man, it's the same. It's not a story. When someone bites the dog, it becomes a story. We have associated refugees to Africans and to the black color over the years. That's what we are aware of. I must indicate that asylum system must be impartial. Asylum system must be impartial. Persecution claims must be based on, not on color or race or gender. That's what I would say. Now, when the historically privileged flee from a nation they once ruled, it exposes unresolved wounds of apartheid. South Africa. I am not concerned about the fact that U.S. granted asylum to these white folks. But I'm concerned about the causes why they are leaving their country and what we as South Africans, we can also learn from. They cited 3 issues. First one, racial discrimination. Second one, violent crime. And the third one, I think, land reforms policies. 3 issues were cited or have been cited. Racial discriminations, and then we have the land reforms issues and the violent crimes. 3 reasons have been associated to the reason why they are leaving their countries. In South Africa, the data we have indicate that 58 per 100,000 deaths, crimes every year in US. What it means is that you have a population of 100,000. Every year, about 58 people are murdered in South Africa.
The percentage?
No, I mean in terms of absolute population. Okay. Per every 100,000, 58 murdered yearly. This is 10 times of the world figure. The world records about 6 out of 100,000. Ghana, about 2 out of 100,000. US, 7. So if South Africa records about 58 per having 100,000 in terms of murder, that's serious. And what are we learning from such a situation? You know, I have been one of the people always talking about racial discriminations. Today they are running away. Years ago, we never recorded this in a way. We don't need to support this. I don't know when in future Africa will have this freedom. In fact, sometimes if you go to South Africa, there are times you can't even walk some of the streets in South Africa. Even some of the shops. You enter the shops are closed. You assume the shops are closed. But inside you have someone sitting in there. It tells you what they are going through in South Africa. But for me, if you want to grant asylum to someone, it should not be based in terms of race or gender. The system must be impartial so that we all can have a breather to some of the issues happening.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I think Donald Trump was quite clear when he said that it doesn't matter who is involved, whether black, whether white, whether whatever. He's talking about the discrimination that is going on in South Africa and the fact that that ought not to happen. And so once it's happening and he feels the need to come to their aid, he will do so without, consideration to color or height or weight or whatever it is. Welcome. I'm not going to, pick up because we are going to discuss the 120 days. And so let me quickly go for this commercial break. Dr. Yaboy will also join us, and then we'll discuss the 120 days. But quick commercial break, stay with us.
For years, the Ghanaian passport has opened doors, across borders, across dreams. Today, we step into the future. With the new chip-embedded passport, Ghana is safer, more secure, and ready for tomorrow. We're working around the clock, literally, Introducing 24-hour passport services. E-tracking at your fingertips. Courier delivery to your doorstep. A 30% reduction in fees. And you get your new chip-embedded passport in under 15 days or in just 5 days with expedited service. Because your time matters, your dreams matter, and every Ghanaian deserves a passport process that is simple, dignified, and yours. The Mahama administration is breaking every barrier, so nothing stands between you and the world.
Ouch! I am Kempaluta. Joko
For years, the Ghanaian passport has opened doors, across borders, across dreams. Today, we step into the future. With the new chip-embedded passport, Ghana is safer, more secure, and ready for tomorrow. We're working around the clock, literally, introducing 24-hour passport services. E-tracking at your fingertips. Courier delivery to your doorstep. A 30% reduction in fees. And you get your new chip-embedded passport in under 15 days or in just 5 days with expedited service. Because your time matters, your dreams matter, and every Ghanaian deserves a passport process that is simple, dignified, and yours. The Mahama administration is breaking every barrier, so nothing stands between you and the world.
But we have a full house, you know, we're going to be discussing the NDC's 120 days in office. And as you do know, President John Dramani Mahama spoke to the nation, or rather addressed the nation, and highlighted a few things. Prior to that, he launched the Code of Conduct, and all of us are to abide. When I say all of us, I mean the people who are in government. They have to abide by the Code of Conduct. But most importantly, we're going to be looking at the 120 days of the government of the NDC, or President Mahama's administration. Now, I would want to respectfully start with Dr. Abu Sakara. Doc, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I guess one can say that this first 120 days has been phenomenal in terms of the reorientation, the responsiveness, and also a sense of accountability and purposefulness. It has been phenomenal in terms of the reorientation, the responsiveness, and the purposefulness, and then accountability so far. Okay?
Like that, yeah.
Now, and the reason I say this is because hitherto, with all due respect to my NDC colleague, we had got to a stage where, frankly speaking, people were very unhappy with the governance system as it was. They felt that there was no responsiveness. People were raising issues about cost of living. They were raising issues about impunity of conduct. They were raising issues about the lack of performance on the financial side. And even they themselves protested for a change. The lack of responsiveness by itself had an effect. If there had been some responsiveness to that, then people would feel that, oh, at least we have a government listening to us. But that lack of responsiveness just sent things in a different direction altogether, which was reflected in the election. Because, let's face it, this election, the margin by which the NDC won, even though it was big, in terms of the increments of votes, so it was 100,000. But it was the number of people who decided that if you're unresponsive to me, I will also not be responsive to you. So when we say unresponsiveness, we cannot dispute the fact that that many million people who failed to respond, are you with me, were basically doing a quid pro quo. So now when we see this shift in terms of the government paying attention to what people are saying, of course they've been put on notice. It's not just the government which has been put on notice. It is our entire democracy which has been put on notice that if you don't respond to us, are you with me, we also have recourse. So now that is a very big part. People are talking about, the individual manifesto promises. That is not the main beef. The main beef is to have a government that is responsive. And if it's responsive and is not able to do certain things, you can let those go. If it makes some errors, you can let those go. But if it's entirely unresponsive to you, then you feel you're not represented. So I think on that score, in terms of the mindset change that has come about now, if you talk to a lot of people, there's been a sense of breathing, a sense of relief. So that has been a phenomenal progress.
Right.
Now, purposefulness. You see, when you have a situation where people are seen to be trying to do what they have said, they may not have done all yet, but the sense that they are purposefully sticking to it and putting out indicators to measure by the degree to which they're sticking to it gives you the impression that there's a certain sense of purpose. And when people are being led in a direction and they don't feel the sense of purpose, so what are we following this person for? Where is he taking us? Those are very important issues in governance. And if you don't pay attention to them, you will lose the crowd. So far, I would say that in terms of purposefulness, that has also been a good degree of progress. Now, when you talk about accountability, now, you notice that the leadership code was printed out.
Yes.
You notice that the issue of declaring of assets was also, made very clear. Measures were taken against people who had not yet declared it.
Yes, yes.
So those issues, not entirely, but those issues send a clear message that, hey, now if we say we're going to do this and you don't do it, you'll be held accountable. So again, that sense of impunity, are you with me, has abated. So this is the short term. Now, when you go to the economy itself, we were at a stage where everything about the economy had fallen apart. We went from a government of a rate of around 4.5 to 15 going on to 16. But that was not the biggest issue. The biggest issue was that it was so volatile that nobody could plan in the short term. Also, the rate at which the fiscal space reduced was that towards the end of that government, we were not able to invest in anything to create jobs, etc., because all the money had to go to pay taxes, to pay our debts. And even the tax regime was reorientated on the basis of gathering enough money to pay our debt just to keep us, on the books. Now, this is the government, the situation that was inherited. And today we're talking about the exchange rate coming down to 12 point something, 13 point something. We're talking of a period of relative stability in the short term. All of these are short term, so you have to interpret it in that context, and I'll put it in the right context. But in that short term, what you have is a situation where the CD has appreciated. There has been some sense of stability. Whether it is going to stay here or not is another matter. We'll go into that. Are you with me? But it has turned around. Now, people will say, oh, but you know, that's because Trump was doing X, Y, Z, and the international trade and the dollar has weakened. It is a factor. There's never any single factor for why currencies depreciate and appreciate. So you have to attribute those things. And then you start attributing. And the dollar has depreciated by only 2%. But we've appreciated by, you know, more than 17%. So definitely, if you take that 2 out, you still have 15%. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So what is accounting for the other 50%? And when you look at the reserves in our gold, are you with me?
Yeah.
Which have appreciated by over 200% in a short period, then that also is a form of currency. It backs our currency. It has shored us up. But these individual interventions by themselves will not have brought about such a change if the barrel was still leaking. And by that I mean if we had not blocked the expenditure. So the expenditure has come down. And you can see it in the size of government, which has reduced. So that not only that, but also even the budgets of the individual sectors have reduced significantly. Now, that is not necessarily a good thing because, you know, you don't then have money to invest and grow the economy at the rate at which you want. But at the same time, it's a good thing because you're not spending more than you have. You have cut your coat according to your size, and that is the beginning of getting better. Yeah. So that side of it, the fiscal side has been controlled. On the monetary side, yes, the injection of the money, 490 million or something, forex for the oil sector, etc., that has also taken the pressure off other areas. Now, of course, if they didn't have money to inject, they wouldn't have been able to inject it. You know, so where they got that money from, in terms of the, you know, gold thing, is also important.
Yeah.
Now, one would say, so this is normal, this is fantastic. Yes, it is for the situation we're in. But I can tell you that as far back as Mansa Musa, he made it clear that nobody was supposed to export gold except through him. Are you with me? And that's how he became the richest man in the world. So if you have a resource that is precious like gold, and you open a basket nilly-willy for everybody to be doing their thing, it will not accrue to you. But if you centralize it and control it, whichever way it passes, it will accrue to you, and it will help you grow bigger. So now the question is, will they be able to sustain this rate? And what are the things that they need to do to be able to sustain it? This is now talking of the medium to long term. And that is where we are yet to see what is the difference in the framework, development framework, that NDC will lay out, or that the government will lay out, because I use the word government because we are now all part of government.
Of course.
You know, it's not NDC alone. It's a Ghana government. It's not a NDC government.
Yeah.
So what is the framework, development framework, that the government will lay out? And on that score, we are yet to see. But that is what is going to underpin these gains and expand on them. Because whether we like it or not, whilst we've been able to shore up the economy in the short term, moving forward, are you with me? Our fiscal space is still very limited, and our debt repayments in 2026, 2027 will be due. So if we go back to taxation to try and meet those repayments and have not shored up enough reserves to defray them, and continue investing in areas of growth, then we will slide back again. So it becomes a seesaw economy. We don't want to do that. We want to sustain the growth. So if we are to do that, we have to seriously think about changing the paradigm and the framework for our economic development, in which case we have to look beyond this IMF World Bank framework, because right now we're in handcuffs, let's put it politely, you know, and we're being disciplined and we're moving and we're making progress. But if we are to break free and achieve our own vision of who we want to become, build the economy to the stage of where we want to achieve it, we have to have a different framework. We cannot work on that minimalist survival, keeping the books approach. We have to go beyond and look at strategic development interventions that we need to make, and we have to look for new partners.
Yeah.
And the world is opening. We have an opening right now. The center of global finance is shifting. You have the BRICS countries coming up, etc. So that has added more dynamics to the whole situation. The question is, are we going to be smart to it? Or are we going to stay in that classroom where we are? Even though, you know, we may become first, but have we graduated? So, so I think we need to look at that. And that is where I believe that if we can come together as a people, as Ghanaians, and look to that framework, that future, yes, we'll still have differences in our approaches, but we have a common purpose and work towards that common purpose so that we grow as a nation.
Let me still stay with you just for a minute and ask you this question, because I think you spoke about the fact that all the gains that we are seeing is within the short term. What is most important is how we are going to still navigate our way around the medium to long term. Now, the being fiscally measured would also mean that your capital, expenditure will suffer. So how do we going forward also ensure that there's that measure? Yeah.
I think the short answer to that is you can't borrow because your debt to GDP ratio is already at the threshold level.
Yes.
And you can't get money from the international system anymore. So, but you have a lot of assets.
Right.
Are you with me?
Right.
Huge assets. So now we have to think of leveraging those assets for capital to come in, not on the basis of loans, but either on the basis of joint equity or build, operate, and transfer, but not to run government. You don't go into that kind of arrangement just to pay salaries and keep people happy. No. You go into those kinds of arrangement for strategic investments that will lift the country to the next level. And by that, I mean pervasive reduction in transaction costs. What can we do that will bring down our transaction costs significantly so that every business everywhere can prosper? Because that is when we become competitive. If you look at Ghana as we are now, we are moving on roads, government after government. Nobody developed their country by developing roads. They went into waterways, then they went into railways, and then did the roads. Are you with me? Waterways, why? Because it's the cheapest form of transportation. And that is why you see in most of the developed countries, the big cities that emerge first are all around the rivers. The Rhone, the Rhine, Thames, Mississippi, Yangtze River. It's not an accident. Why do you have to reinvent the wheel? Why do you want to do it different to anybody else? Are you with me? So we have to do our waterways. And God being so kind, you have Volta, going all the way from Ada, all the way to BP and even beyond. Are you with me? And already we have a motorable, a navigable stretch from Akosombo to BP. How much of the bulk transportation that goes beyond Kumasi goes up the river? Every amount that goes on the road is introducing a cost that burdens businesses and transactions beyond the point at which they can make profit. And that's why we are not competitive. Are you with me? So let's put in the waterway and then connect the waterway by rail from Bipe to Paga and make a free zone port there. Free zone port for who? Burkina, Mali, Niger. That will give them the shortest route to the sea. Now, we are 30 million. They are 70 million. If now we become 100 million, are you with me? And we have this through flow of bulk goods and transportation, who will it accrue to the most when it is passing through us and our population is only 30 million? That means that per capita GDP will be growing faster than them. Are you with me? Not to mention that we will become a gateway, and then it will open up investments in industries. Why are all the mining places only along the coast and in the south? Because you cannot transport those things and still make profit. But if you have waterway and you have rail, all the minerals everywhere are now open for business. Are you?
Right.
And you know we have seams of gold opening up all the way in the north. We have iron ore in Shani, Oti, and incidentally, you know, the quantities of iron ore are million times more than the quantities of gold. And now, steel is what is constraining the growth of manufacturing. That is why Trump is trying to squeeze China by limiting access to these minerals and access to rare earth minerals, lithium and things like that. All those are up there. So if you have this rail and waterway system and you bring the transaction costs down, immediately those things become viable enterprises. And then you get investments. All the talk we've been talking about migration will stop. Are you with me? And businesses will be viable there. On top of that, you then have opportunity to have agro-based industries all along there that can be competitive if we introduce other mechanisms to ensure that services for support agriculture also come down, and we invest in infrastructure. Now, when you're looking for that investment and you're trying to get it in such a way that you don't incur loans, but it comes in as equity that you can use for development. At the same time, you can put in a premium. Okay, I'm prepared to give you, you know, this gold mine, but I want you to develop 100,000 acres of irrigation in this area for me to use and rent out to people to farm. That is a legitimate request. Are you with me? So you have an add-on, or you do a debt swap. Oh, I'm so heavily in debt, I'm willing to give you the gold mine, but you know, we're all going to make profit out of this gold mine, and there's $10 billion that I'll make over a 15-year period. You know what we do? You relieve me of $5 billion in debt now, and the rest I can get later. So if you do that, I'll give you the gold mine. Immediately your debt repayments come down. Are you with me? So we have to think of a different way other than just carrying the pan. Oh, IMF World Bank conference, borrow, IMF World Bank. There's a limit. You've reached the limit. There's a limit. And even those countries that you want to borrow from, how are they faring now?
Yeah.
Have you been to those countries recently and see what is going on there? Are you with me? Yeah, so it's not that easy. And we have to find a different path. And I believe that if we come together and work together to create a better future, you know, we will have a wonderful country. And this phenomenal progress that we are making now can be translated into a huge, fantastic progress. And it doesn't mean that one party will be there all the time. It means that you create conditions where even if there's a change of power, there's not a desperation, and that, you know, we can all feel part of it. So this is what I have to say.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Dr. Sylvie, you are a development economist, and you know, all the things which have been said by Dr. Abusa Kara points to intra-economic relief, so that the person who deals in tomato, the person who deals in yam, the person who deals in cabbage and all of that would be able to get the goods at a very affordable price, the cost of transportation is not high, then the end users would also be able to afford it. So all of it must, the climax of all the beautiful things which have been elucidated by Dr. Sakara, finds expression in how internally we are able to control the market, right? And how internally people who are selling their goods and services will do so, in a manner that will also allow for the end users to be able to purchase. So how do we ensure that the gains that we've made, and he spoke about the fact that all these things are within the short term, right? How do we, even in the short term, ensure that there's some consistency relative to how we conduct ourselves within this market economy?
Okay. Good morning once again, and Doc, good morning, and Prof, good morning. For him, we are very close, and so maybe when we finish, we talk more. And then I also want to take
in terms of NDC MPP or
No. He knows what we are going to talk about. So don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. So before I come to your issue, let me just give some preamble about the 120 days. It's actually a common thing for every newly elected government or president to, as a matter of proving to the electorate, sign some sort of short-term social contract with the people, just to prove to the people that he means business and he has come to work and not to joke. And it's actually some sort of a phenomenon all over the world. Ghana, president or government after government have been doing that. The norm has been 100 days, except that President Mahama decided to modify it a little bit by adding 20 more days to make it 120 days. Doc has said a lot of things, and I agree with him. It takes, an ingenuine, somebody who's not a genuine person to want to say that within the 120 days nothing has been done. If you look at the 25 key thematic promises that he gave, you could see that every aspect of it has been touched, if not fulfilled in toto. At least you could see that some effort has been made in addressing them. And as a result of that, you could see that there has been some sort of improvement within the economy. There's a lot of relief, there's a lot of investor confidence and all of that. The minister, for instance, when he was appointed and sworn in to assume, sworn in into the office, he actually gave 4 thematic key things that he's going to use to bring confidence into the economy. The first was, a strict debt sustainability kind of framework, and then also expenditure rationalization, seeking to ensure that government expenditure is curtailed in such a way that it brings efficiency into the system. Also spoke about tax compliance, enhancing tax compliance, and then digitalizing revenue administration. And if you look at the monetary aspect of it, you could see that Dr. Siama also came out with some sort of 6 pillars, which I think in some past few months or weeks we have discussed them over here. So if you look at the effort put in place by the finance minister and what is being done by the Central Bank of Ghana, you could see that there is some sort of coordination, and that is what has brought us where we are. Now, the intercourse between the fiscal policy aspect and then the monetary policy aspect always brings positive results. But a situation whereby there is divergence, you could see that one stands to run the other one down. And so, I am not surprised the gains that we have, seen. But let me hasten to add, there is this jandam, and Doc touched it, that it's because of the trade war between US and China. I beg to differ. In fact, when I saw the debate or heard the debate ongoing in the media landscape, I did a bit of empirical kind of work by looking at the currencies of other countries within Africa. You could see that Nigeria's currency is still suffering. Other currencies are still suffering. So if it is the trade war, then it should be some sort of cross-sectional. You understand? Then we should see all other countries' currencies performing quite better against the United States dollars. But that is not the case. In fact, Bloomberg has actually, rated Ghana's currency performance to be the best for the past 4 months, I think within Africa, or as one of the best in the world. So it tells you that something positive is being done within the economy, and it is not the trade war. Again, the establishment of the gold board, Doc actually spoke extensively about that, is a major groundbreaking approach to bring this economy to a stability. And if you remember, one of the discussions that we've had in the on your show, I made mention of 2 things that will bring this economy into a pedestal of growth and prosperity within the short term, medium, and even to the long term. The first is how we can harness our natural resources and then ensure that we control it by centralizing it, like the way the gold board is being, it's actually working. Exactly. And then number 2, looking at industrialization, using agriculture as the backbone. So we have something good is being done when it comes to natural resource. In terms of gold, we have Doc made mention of the iron ore, the steel, and all other minerals that we have, especially the oil. I think we have to also make effort to bring some sort of centrality into the whole game. But the gold board, or the gold aspect, we are doing well. In terms of agriculture, yes, in the 120 days, the president has actually launched the Feed Ghana program. But I have a little challenge. The challenge I have is that I see it to be a bit superficial, because by now there should have been some sort of baseline study in regards to that, to identify the comparative advantage of all the 16 regions. Because Ghana, we are blessed with the natural soil where even here, just remove a tile on your floor here and put a seed there, just pour some water on it for 3 days, you will see that it's growing. So it tells you that every region has something to offer when it comes to agricultural production. But we seem to, concentrate more on the northern sector. And that becomes a problem in such a way that whenever there is this opening of the dam and there is a flood and food, farms are destroyed, then you see that there is sort of starvation or scarcity within the system. And we tend to rely more on import goods, which actually escalate our import inflation, therefore causing cost of living to be very, very high. And so I was expecting that there will be some sort of baseline study at this time where we have been able to identify the comparative advantage for all the regions, and then, some sort of program design ought to be done as I speak to you now. And I dare anybody within the government to challenge. There is no blueprint document in place for the Feed Ghana, but the concept is there. So, it has been launched. We are waiting how it's going to be implemented. Is it going to be implemented based on a particular program, a blueprint design, a project document that is seeking to direct who is responsible to what and all of that? We are waiting for that. Now, another aspect to bring the industrialization is that when food is produced, it ought to be transported, isn't it? And so far, our transportation system, in terms of transporting our food and other commodities, has been very, very inefficient and highly expensive. Look, even in Accra here, this morning when I was coming, I said I was trying to dodge the traffic, and I regretted the kind of road I went to hit, and with the type of car that I was using. Even with the type of car I'm using, I was struggling. Let alone the trotro vehicles that are carrying some sort of bags of onions and all that from one market to the other. How do you expect them to actually, that is even within Accra. If you look at from the northern sector to this sector, it is only road. So far, the rail, as Doc actually alluded to, is not performing well. We have a water body that connects the south to the north, as Doc said. What are we doing to take advantage of that in terms of using the water transportation system? Because that is very, very cheaper than the road and even the rail. You understand? Actually, in terms of, order of, rating, you will see that the road is more expensive than the rail, and the rail is quite expensive than the water. And if you compare them in terms of speed, you will see that the water and the rail are far better and efficient than even the road. And you will see, roads that have been destroyed, that are actually not in good shape. Recently, when I went to the field, you will see a truck full of yam and has broken down. I went to do my field monitoring. A week later, when I was coming, the truck was still there with the yam inside it. Assuming it were to be a highly perishable commodity, by the time it gets to the market, about 70 to 80% of them have gone bad. So the little that is left, the person who went there to buy this commodity is also not a Father Christmas or Mother Christmas. So we have to find a way to make the lost kind of capital by, inflating or increasing the prices, which then again come back to inflation. So, as you said, I don't fully agree with Doc's assertion that it is short term. I don't fully agree because, you see, partially my agreement will be on the ground that unless the government, after getting the fiscal space for all the good things that they've done, if they get the fiscal space, they will not go onto the tangent of spending spree, that cyclical kind of thing that we go through. But if we continue to take charge of the gold aspect, because you see, the gold board, if not time, I would have taken you through 7 key interventions based on my analysis, and this is data, and comparing other countries that have similar system, the interventions that they are getting, 7 key interventions. It is helping us in our gold for oil.
If Doc says short term, it is short term because this is what we know now.
Yes.
But we don't know what will happen tomorrow.
So that's why I said...
That's why it's within the confines of what is happening today.
Yes.
So if we are judging the president's performance on the basis of what is happening today, then you cannot say Doc was wrong.
No, I'm not saying he's wrong. I said I don't fully...
I mean, you use it fully is even questionable. That's what I'm saying. That it's within the confines of what we are faced with now. As we speak today.
And what is the time frame?
The time frame, so 120 days, we are assessing it.
Yeah.
Now, 120 days, President Mahama has managed to stabilize the CD, good board, blah, blah, all those things are working, right?
Yeah.
Now, the medium term is maybe in the next year or 2, right?
Yes.
How would the economy be like?
So
that's a question we are asking, but an answer we don't have.
Yes. So that is what Doc himself answered that question. And I'm also adding to that. But in terms of the short term,
yes,
his answer to your question in terms of medium term actually even diffused the short term he made. That's why I said I don't fully agree with him. Because you see, he spoke about industrializing. Yes. Is that not the case?
Yes.
Taking advantage of what is happening now and then propel industrialization. That will bring sustainable growth. True. Even to the medium term, to the longer term. So that answer he even gave, or that proposition that he made, even diffuses, the short term. But the point I'm making here is that, you see, what he said and what I'm about to say,
right,
are all based on this conditional statement, if. You understand? So, as he rightly said, within the benefit that we are actually enjoying now, for the past 4 months, consistently, the CD has appreciated.
Against
and I think, yes,
prices.
the last time I checked, I think it was 17.5, 18, and Doc is saying 17%, so at least within that range. Now, if you look at that, yesterday, for instance, yesterday I checked, it was 12.72. Now, this morning, when I was coming, I checked it is 12.51. You understand? So, it tells you that within the 4 months, 2.7 billion, dollars worth of gold that has been exported.
12.7.
Sorry, 2.7. I beg your pardon. Yes, is it 12.7? No, 2.7 billion. That is what I have.
12. Okay, well, I'll check.
2.7 billion Ghana cedis worth of gold that has been exported. That forex that is coming, you see, we need to take advantage of that. Okay, in terms of using that to propel industrialization. So I spoke about using agriculture as the backbone, because you see, in the value chain or the supply chain from the farm gate to the table of the final consumer, several business opportunities can be created, to the extent that we can even export some of the things that we actually produce out of that. Several jobs can also be created, and if government is seeking to mobilize revenue or increase revenue mobilization, Once jobs are created and people are working, then your guess is as good as mine. People will end up, paying taxes, businesses will pay taxes, and then there will be that sort of growth. So I fully agree with Doc on on the propositions that he made in terms of what can be done, in the medium and the long term to, bring some sort of stability for us to enjoy the benefit that we are enjoying in a long-lasting manner. I fully agree with him. But a word of caution to the government. I remember when the MPP also came into office. Within the few months, we saw some sort of changes and all of that. And we were all happy. Once there was a fiscal space, then they went on to this sort of spending spree, to the extent that we had this national cathedral, necessary, government expenditures that were not really, going to help the economy, even within the short to the long term, kind of run. And so I feel like it's a good thing, the 120 days, 4 months, consistently your CD actually, your currency actually appreciating. Accountability, Doc spoke about it. We can see that if government promises something, you see him or you see the government making an attempt to actually achieve what has been promised to the people, and then the launching of the code of conduct by ministers and all of that, and then the public interest to even participate in the natural discourse. National discourse or public discourse. It's very, very, very interesting and very, very, actually, I am happy about it because you see, yesterday when I was watching your show in the morning, there was this discussion about Sami Jemfi kind of thing. I am looking at it from the positive aspect of it, not the negative aspect. The positive aspect of it is that you see, now the public is interested in national matters. As it happened in the past 8 years where, because we were irresponsive, that irresponsive nature of the government, as Doc alluded to, many people said, okay, let me sit at my corner and think about mine. But now you see that the public is interested in what is happening in our national economy. That is good. Number two, we are also getting good leadership. Good leadership in the sense that when the young man felt like, okay, there's public outcry for his gesture, quote unquote, he thought it was showing kindness. He came up quickly to apologize to the people. You understand? And then also the government taking keen interest to even invite him. The expectation is not to maybe relieve him of his duty, but maybe cautioning him to comport himself and all of that. It tells you that there is this kind of positivity within the system. And that is also a sign of what? Accountability.
Right, thank you very much.
I fully agree
Thank you very much. I mean, well, you found a way of not responding to my question.
Oh, really?
Because I was talking about
go ahead.
the very many things which were said by Doc and juxtaposing same with the internal market outlook.
Okay.
How we are going to ensure that there's some market stability, because we're talking, even Guta came out recently to talk about the fact the price of goods and services must come down. In relation to the CD gaining some strength against the major currencies, etc. I was just looking at the how, because you see, if we are seeing
just give me a minute to address.
If we are seeing some positive economic outlook generally, and that does not translate into price of goods and services coming down, then there's a challenge. I've seen that iron rod, I think the price has come down. Now it's about 8,000 Ghana cedis or so, from 12,000 to 8,000. So I've seen some positive, or some improvement there. So I was just, because you are a development economist, I was trying to now tease your mind. And perhaps glean something from you in relation to that. 1 minute, and I'm coming to.
Thank you so much. Yes,
so that you can.
First of all, in economic
not first of all, we said 1 minute. So.
Yes, economic wise, you don't expect that this kind of improvement we are seeing in terms of our currency appreciating should immediately trigger price reduction. Of course, some of the commodities, you made mention of iron rods. I can also tell you about a gallon of fried oil, the big gallon. It used to be, I think, 1,200. The last time my wife went to the market, recently, it is 680, which is good. But some of the commodities that were imported before we saw these gains, it was imported based on the old kind of...
I have a challenge with that.
You let me land. I
don't want you to go there.
No, you let me land.
I mean, I've listened to those arguments being advanced. The reason why I don't agree with that analogy is because when prices at the time when the dollar was performing
Better than the city.
badly. Sorry, the city was performing badly.
Okay.
I do recall that at one point I went to try to buy iron rod, and the price was, I think, about 6,000 or so, and the dollar had, the city had depreciated.
Yes.
The next day when I went, they had increased the price. So are you saying that the iron rods that were brought, that were sold for 8,000 Ghana cedis, because the dollar had appreciated against the cedi the following day?
I have a response, but because I requested for 1 minute, let me jump to another.
1 minute.
Now, I will not go on what you said. I will talk about that later. But in terms of making sure that this gains reflect in the market, you see, government or Ghana, we also have this issue of price control mechanism. We don't have price control mechanism. Everybody prices at his or her will. So I have advocated, and I have seen another professor also in Key University backing me, that the scaling system that we use, or that is being used in other economies, we have to bring it here. For example, Doc, last week I went to the market to do a market survey, and what happened was that about 3 is it finger or whatever of plantain gathered by one trader, the person is selling it at 30 cedis because one is 10 cedis. Then just a few steps I went, the same tray, almost by visibility, same sizes, another person is selling it at 50 cedis. I have traveled to China, I've traveled to India. You, irrespective of the size or whatever, there is a scale. You put it on it, and then
it determines the price.
It determines the price. So everybody knows that maybe 1 kilo of plantain is at this price.
Right.
Now that one directly goes with the currency performance.
Yeah.
You understand? But until we have that done, and the government also not having any other price control mechanism in place, it will be very difficult for us to see that particular
change. Thank you very much. Doc, so you think about the possibility of hedging, you know, our currency, because that argument has also come up. So you think about it. Let me come to Dr. Michael Neaboy. Morning.
Good morning.
I trust you are well.
I'm doing.
You're enjoying the conversation.
Yes.
That's why I'm smiling. All right. So you are also a financial analyst. So judging from the performance of the president, 120 days, you know, this is within the short term. Do you foresee some level of sustainability?
Well, I think the discussions have been advanced based on the two speakers who did justice to several parts of the discussions. I want to say first and foremost that 120 days, it's too short a time to actually make a clear pronouncement on what performance is and whether we are doing well economically or not. And yes, like Doc said, the government have been responsive. They are behaving like people who were put in charge of something by someone, and that is what is good, and that is where I agree. But most of the things I share to say that I disagree. First of all, the dollar. When you hear the likes of Bloomberg saying that the dollar is dropping, blah 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 blah, the city is not in consideration. Naira is not in consideration. The rand is not in consideration. The DXY is based on 6 currencies: the Swedish, the Canadian dollar, the euro, and all these are weighted. In fact, the euro is weighted higher than any of the other 5 currencies at, I think, 37% or so. So when they say, oh, the dollar strength because of whatever is happening on the world stage with tariffs and all that, the dollar is weaker. It is not weak against the cedi. So that conversation should be shelved. That is one. 2, I think that it has been mentioned that we need a blueprint, and this conversation has gone on for quite a lot of I mean, I'm sure this conversation probably might be way older than me. That we need a certain blueprint to follow. Again, I disagree. We just need to be focused, understand the economic history of this country, know where our strength lies, and stop using Oxford and Yale economic theories to actually manage this economy. Because this economy has a history, how it was built and how it was founded. And I think that I would strongly advocate that we look at education in terms of the economy once again in our universities. The kind of things they are being taught there makes no sense if we would have to progress. And therefore, for me, I would want us, and in the future, most of those who would want to be in charge of this country to really understand where this country economy had come from. Now, let me touch on the market prices,
right,
and why they may come down or they may not come down. In economics, you can't take people's behaviors out. Behavior is something so critical about when you are looking at an economy. Look, when there is when there is so much confidence in the economy, people will behave differently. When there is lack of confidence in the economy, if there is less confidence in the economy, the same way people will react differently. Now, what happened with prices? Some few months back, what you saw in terms of price jumping up was not because the dollar necessarily moved up, but it was an expectation that the cedi strength will further deteriorate, and therefore businesses needed to edge in their pricing. Because if the dollar is, for instance, 16 today, and I suspect that the dollar tomorrow will be around 17 cedis, then I will not actually price on that same 13 cedis or 16 cedis. I will price on the expected rate of 17, because I have to go to the market to be able to afford the dollar to stay in business. Same way, the prices that will come down, or we are expecting to come down today, is not based on the rate showing on our screens. It is based on the level of confidence that the players in the market will have in the economy. And that is why I will insist that 120 days is too short a time for us to say that we have gained a sustainable stability. Yes, it is a good sign. It is something we would further have to work on, and it is a good starting point. Now, the other bit I will also want to touch is about how the physical side is being managed and how the monetary side is being managed. Yes, you can see that they are talking to each other. It is not like before, where clearly the physical side was too dominant and the monetary side was more like a puppet, of the physical. It's like you have equals in there. And I have also advocated that in reading the budget, I think the monetary side is just a mentioning in our budgets. That should change. We should have an extensive monetary policy anytime we are reading our budgets. Because I see Bank of Ghana and a governor who is not held accountable to anything in the budget. And that should equally change. I keep saying we are building a nation, and we must do it right. underscore the physical side, I say today that Ghanaians are patient. Ghanaians are not demanding today, knowing where we had come from. But the heat will come on. And my question is, are we saying that we have built enough reserves, we have built enough buffers, that when it hits, we would actually be able to stand? Will our anchor hold? And for me, I will be honest, I am NDC, but I will be honest to tell you that the anchor will not hold. It is too early. What we need to do today is to educate the populace that, look, what we feel we are enjoying today is not a finality. It is just a starting point. And let us not destroy it with mounting pressures on the physical side, because that pressure, if not checked, will destroy all the gains we have made. Again, the issue of, and I want to be brutally fair here, the issue of gold board, our gold is bringing us so much, blah, 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 blah. Our gold has always brought us so much. And in fact, somewhere around 2022, our reserve in gold was just about 8 billion. Before the NDC took over in 2025, our reserve have been shot up to about 31 billion. Yeah. We did not see the currency improving on the backs of that. Right? Today, it is around 43 billion, which I don't see a huge build-up within this short period.
But you would agree that there's also that communication, between the reserves, and I think Doc spoke about it, because you cannot build your currency on nothing. Your currency must be built on something. Now, we unfortunately have only three commodities that we export, commodities that we export. So you're looking at gold, you're looking at oil, you're looking at cocoa. Unfortunately, because of all the issues that we have relative to our farmlands, etc., cocoa exportation is on a decline, right? Oil, we have not really added value to it. Gold, yes. Small-scale miners, etc., they are the ones that really are helping sustain our currency. And so if you have a gold board that is created to build that buffer, or to create a system where, that the reserves will be created such that the economy can now have a proper still, or the currency can have a proper still upon which it can survive, then I think that is commendable. You don't think so?
Again, I don't disagree with what you have said.
Yeah.
But I want to say that it is not responsible for what we are seeing.
So what is responsible for what we are seeing?
What is responsible for what we are seeing is the lack of demand. Go and check our M2 Plus.
Okay.
The craze about we diminishing deposits, demand deposits for foreign currency has minimized drastically. What it means is that either imports is sliding downwards, or there is not an appetite.
Hold on. Let me just go for this quick commercial break. Quick commercial break. Stay with us. Don't move it. Let's get it exciting. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us. Yeah.
For years, the Ghanaian passport has opened doors, across borders, across dreams. Today, we step into the future. With the new chip-embedded passport, Ghana is safer, more secure, and ready for tomorrow. We're working around the clock, literally, introducing 24-hour passport services, e-tracking at your fingertips, courier delivery to your doorstep, a 30% reduction in fees, and you get your new chip-embedded passport in under 15 days or in just 5 days with expedited service. Because your time matters, your dreams matter, and every Ghanaian deserves a passport process that is simple, dignified, and yours. The Mahama administration is breaking every barrier, so nothing stands between you and the world. For years, the Ghanaian passport has opened doors, across borders, across dreams. Today, we step into the future. With the new chip-embedded passport, Ghana is safer, more secure, and ready for tomorrow. We're working around the clock, literally, introducing 24-hour passport services, e-tracking at your fingertips, courier delivery to your doorstep, a 30% reduction in fees, and you get your new chip-embedded passport in under 15 days or in just 5 days with expedited service. Because your time matters, your dreams matter, and every Ghanaian deserves a passport process that is simple, dignified, and yours. The Mahama administration is breaking every barrier, so nothing stands between you and the world. For years, the Ghanaian passport has opened doors, across borders, across dreams. Today, we step into the future. With the new chip-embedded passport, Ghana is safer, more secure, and ready for tomorrow. We're working around.
Yeah, you're on the floor.
Yes. So, like I was saying, the goal thing we are talking about. If it is about confidence, because yes, it is readily exchangeable to US dollars. I mean, putting your gold forward and having US dollars to do whatever, and that's probably what we've been calling gold for oil, gold for oil. I don't see it as such. I believe that a gold reserve, what it does to the investor community is giving them a confidence that, okay, these guys have enough that if I should deal with them, I would get my money back.
Right.
And my gratification as well. So let us understand that whatever is happening today is because of how demand has plummeted, and not really about the gold that we have sitting down, right?
Demand for what?
Well, we demand production in this country, demand US dollars.
Right.
I would say by 80 to 85% of our production here, including gold production, demands US dollars. The iron balls we use are mostly imported. I know they get some locally here. The cyanide, the oxide, all the chemicals you may want to think of. The equipment are all backed by US dollars. They all demand US dollars. Now, you want to tell me our Greek sector, it demands dollars. What we are doing now is that we are not spending. And once you are not spending, there is not enough liquidity in the system to go after the US dollars.
Okay.
And also, the actions of BOG in terms of its OMO operations clearly shows that, look, we are not ready to borrow so much in terms of and that is dropping the demand on the USD.
Okay.
Again, we are not servicing our debts, but the time will come when we will go back to full service of debt. And that will equally put pressure on us. Today, yes, we can afford to do this 400 million. Why? Because we have enough in terms of our reserve. We are exporting, we are getting the foreign currencies in, we are not importing as much as we used to because the physical side is holding it down. Now, when the physical side expand expenditure, then you will see the overheating of the economy coming back to us again. We need to be cautious. We need to communicate well and educate the populace that this is just the beginning, and it is about consistency, staying focused, and understanding the history. But let me end with this. I get it when people say we need to put this transportation there, do this to get this to work and all that. Brilliant ideas. But again, I will insist. Do you know, and we all, I believe, will agree here, that we have a very narrow base economy. It is dependent on gold, cocoa, oil. Now, in the 1800s, in the mid to the late 1800s, cocoa was giving us nothing. In about 1900, cocoa was giving us only 43 pounds. Whereas palm was giving us 896 palm, the palm fruit, the palm oil, the kernel, the what have you, was giving us over 936,000 pounds. In fact, monkey skin was giving us more than cocoa was giving us. Monkey skin was giving us 196,000 pounds. Rubber was one of our major exports. Today, where is rubber? Where is palm? We keep narrowing it ourselves. The moment there was oil, all we did was to divert all our expenditure attention onto the oil revenue. And now we do not even feel the impact of oil revenues any longer. And that is what we need to do to diversify this economy. And that is what I have not seen yet.
Okay. Well, hopefully you see that soon. But Dr. Sifu mentioned some 7 interventions that the Gold Board has been employing. One is to accumulate the accumulation of strategic gold reserves via local artisanal industrial mining purchases, gold for oil and gold for import schemes, gold-backed monetary instruments, use of gold as collateral for concessional financing. I think Doc mentioned something similar. Establishment of a gold reserve pricing and aggregation mechanism, public reporting of gold holdings and gold board operations, monetization of gold-backed assets in Bank of Ghana's balance sheet. So clearly, the Gold Board played some significant...
I think we will need time to
dissect this. All right, no problem. Okay, good morning to you, Kwame. Please ask my senior comrade, Dr. Abu Sakara, when he is returning to the CPP. Good morning to Pan-African TV. Good to follow this morning's discussion that are calmer and more on the economy. Tell the last but one speaker that he doesn't need to go to China or India to see traders in the open market using skills. In Bamako, Mali, in Abuja and Lagos in Nigeria, in Lome, Togo, in Cotonou, Benin, in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, in Bissau, Guinea-Bissau, all in ECOWAS region, women and men, traders, use scale to sell fruits and sell fresh fish, just as in Accra and Kumasi in Ghana. Butchers use the scale to sell meat. We just have to look around and learn from the practical and better ways of doing things. Note, scales have to be certified by authorities and reset every 2 years as nature and usage deregulate them. Thank you. You didn't add your name, sir. Next time, please do add your name. That's a very good
point. I will add to this that that is where our metropolitan assemblies should be doing some work. They don't even understand that, in fact, the local economy exists.
Yeah,
they must
the local
preside
economy.
over it.
Yeah, true. Alhaji Hamza in Pig Farm says, good morning to you, my brother. Truth be told, 100 days of President Mahama and the NDC in office, so far so good. The evidence is out there for all to see. But my problem has to do with Galamsey. President Mahama and the NDC is doing very little to fight Galamsey. But my brother, others are also out there making sure the fight against Galamsey fails. Oh, he's doing a lot. Okay. Just last month, Galamseyers were arrested and arraigned before the courts in Western Region. The judge who was presiding over the case, it's not a judge who got them released. So I can't read the last part. This one also says, KOD, if our drivers can reduce the fares, local commodities can come down. Kweku from La Paz. Thank you. Good morning to you, KOD. Assessing the performance of His Excellency JDM, I will say work has not started yet, but we should applaud him for laying a strong foundation to build on, and also showing a great commitment to building the Ghana we all want together. Thank you. Suglo K. Ibrahim from Nadoli Kaliu constituency. Dear panels, good morning. I greet my greetings to the economists next to Dr. Abu Sakara concerning the blueprint for food security on agriculture. The blueprint documentation can be assigned to tertiary institutions within every region to carry out the data to enable government to rely on a proper implementation for government policies on economic challenges. Engineer Charles sent in this one. Not a bad idea. Good morning to you. Government spent more on cocoa than on cereals, saying that attention is on northern Ghana with regards to agriculture can't be true. Haruna from Tamale sent in this one. This one says, good morning to you, Pan-African TV. My name is Nasigri. I'm a native of So in Mamprugu. So community is one of the biggest communities in the district, but it's unfortunately the community is still lacking development projects like good roads. Okay, all right, thank you very much. Teacher Baba from Salaga says, good morning to you, Pan-African Television and your panelists. Superb. Dr. Sakara is just superb. He has made my day for all Ghanaians. His talk on the waterway development is just wow. And if only we can do it together, then we can achieve something better. However, he should rethink his political alienation. He should join the NDC. I beg. Good morning to you, Lawyer KOD. Good to see Dr. Abu Sakara in your studio this morning for the first time. He has said it all. I'll be making noise and discussions anytime about the importance and safety of railways. Just simply look at the daily fatal accidents in this country and foods that get rotten before it gets to the market, and easy robberies by kids with guns on our roads. It's as if we don't care about the safety of our citizens anymore. Bibi from Musuku sent in this one. Yeah, bro, you're still talking about Sami Jemfi. Hello, good morning to you and your panelists. I am JM from Accra. Please, some of the messages, somebody's talking about IGP transferring people. Good morning to you, Kwame. May I know what Oral is doing about government lands in Ho? Will be an issue. Okay. Okay, Mr. Roger, he sent his name, Mr. Roger Lamewana Ada from ECOWAS region consultants. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you. KOD, my regards to my old boy, Dr. Sakara, Royal Stephen, 1976, from Wa. Okay. Good morning to you, sir. Please, when will vehicle prices reduce? It's too much. Dear Lord. Okay, so let me come to Prof. And then I will give the last bite to Dr. Sakara, because this is the first time he's been on my show. So Let me allow you, Prof.
I give you the hedging.
Prof, go ahead. On the 120 days. And then,
Before I do that, I mean, you brought another interesting conversation that Ghana, we're close to doing hedging.
Yeah,
It means
yeah.
we are at the mercy of the dollar swings at time. So what can we do to anchor the dollar swing? I mean, difficult, but it's so sophisticated for a country like Ghana to get into either debt hedging or currency hedging or commodity hedging. I mean, too technical at our level, and I'm sure we might not need to try at this level, although we are going to a lot. Coming back to the 120 days,
yes, sir,
and then the economic-related matters. I don't know if you have chance on the S&P global ratings.
I have.
Have you?
I have chanced on it.
Yeah. Cedi to resume depreciation in late 2025. Okay. Now let's come back to the 120 days. Nobody put gun on the head of any government to give a milestone. Judge me on 100 days. It used to be 100. Then it moved into 120 days. My good friend also indicated, well, it's moved to 120 days. At least to give the government more time. Nobody put a hand on the government to do that. Social contract is simply the implicit and explicit agreement between a government and the public in exchange for vote. That's the baseline. But when you want to scrutinize social contract, you have to be careful because you need to have a matrix to measure. And per M&E, monitoring and evaluation, you can't just put everything together and say I've scored 70, I've performed, I've done that. You need to also segment the various contracts. I mean, to the various sections. Then you can have a max or give a weight on each. Let's put M&E to discussions. One, and compare the social contract. Crisis preparedness of the social contract. Did you see that? Measure the social based on crisis preparedness. Measure the contract based on clarity. I will convey. I will establish. I will do that. I will do that. That's fine.
But you agree that he actually did them?
Oh, yeah, we will come to that. Okay. I'm only giving a preamble that anytime you access social contract, have something you want to compare.
Yeah, the M&E to be able to now pull parity.
Yes.
All right, cool.
So you look at the feasibility of the social contract, preparedness, key impacts of those items you have listed.
And sustainability.
Check all those things. Very important. Now let's come to the social contract. You need to segment them into various parts. Governance, and if you pick 20, I think 20 is 25. But in a paper you will see 26, but actually 25. There was a mistake, a typo or something. It's fine. We've seen 8 items that fell under governance and accountability.
Okay.
9 items fell under economic reset. 5 items fell under social interventions, and then energy and environment, about 3. So you now see the strength of this administration in terms of what I've discussed. We can leave the scores outside and then discuss those ones issue later. If you look at the energy and environment, that's where we have a problem. What has been the effort of this administration curbing this menace?
The Galactic menace.
So I was expecting the president, when he gave the address that night, probably to have looked at various segments and rather rate this administration. That would have been fair. If we look at the scores of other think tanks, groups, individuals, and they are all varied, and we understand why. Because we have different way of measuring this performance over the period. And it won't be wrong. And nobody should hold someone, say worse things to some organization by giving a lower mark. It depends on how you look at the whole thing, because yes, you measure by the AME you have. Let's leave the governance, let's leave the social interventions, and let's leave the mining part. Let's come to the comment. I'm sure that's what we are discussing with this morning, out of his promise. For us, the think tank groups called this administration about 42% or so on economic related issues. For governance, we scored this guy about 20-something percent or so. Where this government had huge mark, happened to be in the social interventions, about over 50%. Mining, energy, the energy environment, scored about 16% per our assessment.
What went into what went into?
We had matrix weights that we assigned to all this. You know,
what metrics did you use? I mean, what was the justification for, let's say, scoring this one, this, scoring that one, that, so that? Because you're talking about governance. What is the encapsulation of it? It encapsulates what? Because governance is really an amalgamation of all the other things that you are talking about.
Okay, so if you take that,
governance is like the IGP. Every other thing falls underneath it. So if you are talking about the economy, it falls within the purview of governance. If you're talking about the environment, it falls within governance. If you're talking about corruption or anti-corruption or accountability, it falls within governance. So what metrics did you use in arriving at the conclusion that for governance you score them? We said what, 16% for governance? Yeah.
I don't know whether you came out with your scores.
No, I haven't.
But what we done?
No, that's what you did. But we need to subject it to scrutiny, because I mean,
for sure,
different people, I think, graded the government differently, right? People did an accumulated grade. So you have the MPP as a political party grading the government, I think 38-something%. Government by itself grading itself 97%. Some other think tanks grading about 58%. This is total marks given to the government. But the good thing about yours is that you have actually segregated it. So you have itemized them, and you are grading them based on, you know, the various components. So that is why I want to understand what went into yours.
For instance, if you take that of governance, I mentioned 8 items.
Yes.
So 8 items, we gave score. In fact, some of the government scored 100%. Some 70, some 60, some 0. So put this together and divide by the number.
Okay.
That should be for one score. One segment. Take economic reset. 9 key promises. Divide by that figure. Then take that, the other one, 4. And when you finish, come and take the weighted average.
And then put them together. Okay.
That's how we were able to come.
All right.
Now, when you finish, let's come to the economic related issues.
Right.
In fact, I was on a set with some of one very good friend. When he entered the studio, he said, "Please, host, change all the topic today. Talk about dollar."
Who said that?
The friend.
Which program is that?
Oh, somewhere. I've been one of the media. The guy entered the studio, one of our NDC colleagues. Change all the topics. Let's talk about CD, dollar. It was so interesting. And I said, then we'll do in demonstration. So that we'll be in the streets and then we'll sing this song. Dollar is going down and all that. We are happy. In fact, the exchange rate is just like a rainfall. When the rain falls, the exporter, the importer, and the business, the small business, they all benefit or they will have issues. Now we are happy with dollar. Flip the coin. The importer and the exporter, who benefits? One will benefit, one will be sad, one will be happy. That's a phenomenon. We can't question this. When the city goes down, goes up, we are happy. Of course, everybody will be happy. But let's look at Kwame. There was a statement from the Minister of Governor of the Bank of Ghana last week. In respect of the dollar. If you go to Ghana Web and Google, he attributed the CD resurgence to 3 or 4 items. He himself, he is in charge of the monetary control space. Minister of Finance will be for the fiscal, the revenue taxes. Well, when he speaks, it adds something to it. He said we should attribute the cedi resurgence to the gold prices, to the weak dollar, and 3, I'll get the other one. So he attributed this to 3 issues. We have seen an increase in price of gold for some time now. It started somewhere late 2024 when we had about $2,400 per ounce. What we control as a country is the quantity. The world controls the prices. So if in the world market we have a change in price, we don't control. What we can control only, how many can we produce to earn that? That's what we control. So you understand that clearly it's an external factor.
You think so entirely?
Yeah,
okay.
That's my assessment.
All right,
Good.
okay.
The other one he talked about, the injection of 490 something.
Million, I think Doc mentioned it.
IMF. We went to IMF, please help us. Now when they bring you money, they bring the money, not in cedis, in dollars. So one way or the other, it could be an external. The weak dollar, we don't control. Others are so many theories that, well, the China trade war will not have any effect on our economy. We understand. In fact, we've had this before. The COVID did not have any effect on our economy. People also said, well, it had effect. Of course, we academics, we can analyze all this. If the governor comes out and tells the whole country that the cedi resurgence is a result of 3 key issues, and we have discussed this. If they are external, why do we outsource the cedi stability to external shocks? And I would say they are global lacks. We are enjoying from what is happening in the globe. So clearly, how many months we have now? We've had about 3 months or 4 months of this administration. If you are telling me it's about physical discipline, the expenditure, the government has been not too reckless. I understand. But go back and check the appointees. The government said I will establish in the manifesto. How many appointments? I think ministers. How many of us have checked in terms of how much we have saved? I'm here to find out. So Kwame.
Yes, sir. I see.
I won't challenge statement by the Hozoma, the BOG boss. He tells the country that the CJ resurgence as a result of 3 or 4 key areas.
But all of them cannot be external because with the introduction of the gold board, at least it brings some sanity into the space where
the gold board, the gold board.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have anything to do with it.
Okay, no problem.
Well, the gold board will have extensive discussions on
Okay,
this. In fact, we have written RTI
to do what?
To produce. We will come to that discussion.
Hey, what do you want? Hey.
Oh no, we need clarity
On the gold board.
How much have we given to gold board?
Right now,
200 and something.
90 million USD.
290.
Yes, quarterly.
Check how much they've been able to. I think Dog is even has the data there.
Oh, then
You can
Doc
go
has
back and check.
to help us with the
And we
data.
need, they have made, or how much they have used to purchase those gold.
Oh, okay.
Is it that we are putting money into blocking other payments and going beyond the expenditure? We have written, and we'll come.
I see. Doc, the last bite.
3 quick things.
Yes, sir.
First of all, 1, the direction you're headed in
is more important than how fast you are moving.
Yes.
If you're moving too fast in the wrong direction,
You crash.
you are going negative. If you're moving slowly in the right direction, it's better than moving too fast in the wrong direction. So that kind of reorientation is what we are assessing at this initial stage of the NDC's or the government's performance, not the NDC, the government's performance. Now, that one, there's no question about it. Are you with me? The second part of it is that the medium and short term are two different issues. We're talking about what has been done in the short term. And what we are saying is that the things that have been done in the short term, we should put more emphasis on the governance issues, because that is what people feel. And I beg to make the distinction between governance and the rest of the economy. The governance sets the framework. Are you with me? And then the other things are inside. But nonetheless, that strategic orientation of the framework is a piece by itself.
Right.
And that has been done in a way in which now some of the other pieces are beginning to have some positive signs. We're not saying that they are finished. By all means, they are not finished at all. They are just beginning. That's why I said in the short term. So, and I like the way Prof mentioned about the segmentation of the different aspects. I'm surprised that they scored the governance low, because I think that is where they've actually scored the highest on the governance side. Now, on the issues of the currency, appreciation of the CD, clearly the data shows that it is not only the gold price, but the amount of gold itself exported, which has brought in money. And we should make a difference between gold reserves, which are kept in central bank, and gold exported, which is sold. The two are two different things altogether.
Okay.
Yes, the gold sold comes back in foreign currency, and therefore shores up our foreign exchange reserves. But they are not one and the same thing. And if you look at the amount of gold exported, there is 9,000 metric tons. So let me just give you the correct figure right now. In this first 3 months, if you look at the bottom figure, it says, if my eyes can allow me to see it, yes, okay. So in this first quarter of 2025, the total amount of gold exported, are you with me, is 30,474 metric tons, which is 2.76 billion. Last year, the total amount of gold exported for the whole year was 60,000 for the 12 months. So if you've done 30,000, are you with me, in 3 months, or 1, 2, 3, 4 months, then obviously you've done 50% of what you did last year. In the 3 months only.
Right.
So if we project along this line, we are going to do maybe about 200%, 300% more than what we did last year. That is the difference. Now, even the price, the value, are you with me? The value of the gold that you are exporting, yes, it has increased because the price of gold has gone from 2,000 something to 3,000 metric dollars per ounce. But that does not account for the big increase in the volume. The volume has contributed much more substantially to the earned dollars than the price alone.
So can you attribute that to the fact that it's being regulated now?
No, I'm coming there. I'm coming there.
Very well.
So you've got more volume, there's a higher price, and the more volume has more than compensated for the higher price, because in the first quarter already you have got half the value that you exported last year. So that's one thing. Now, what has this gold board done? All it has done is say that Galamsey people, are you with me? Bring your gold here, and we will sell it for you. You are not going to allow you to sell it. That's all it has done. And as I told you, In the era of Mansa Musa, if you got gold, you went and gave it to the king and you got salt. Are you with me? That is how it is calculated, that by now he's still the richest person that ever was in the world. It was not permissible. It was punishable by death for you to just get gold, take it and sell it to whoever you want to sell it. So centralizing the gold, are you with me, has an effect beyond just the total amount of trading, because it has synergistic effects with our currency strength as well. So now the question is, where did this big increase in this first quarter come from? Because the same kind of same people, if anything at all, you started chasing them, so it should have reduced. Are you with me? So that, and we know for a fact that the amount of gold that we export from Ghana, that we on record to India and Dubai, is 10 times less than what we record here as exported.
True.
So that is where your loophole is.
Yeah, there was a 1 point something billion.
In other words, there are no more motor riders coming with you, going into the airport hangars and straight onto the plane without it being, controlled. So that has made a big difference. And this is what we say, I'm sorry to repeat it again, but the impunity with which people were behaving, as if the whole country, everybody could do whatever they wanted. Are you with me? All those things being controlled will accrue to this aggregated amounts, which has brought in this extra foreign currency to shore us up. So that now we went about hedging. I like the answer that Prof gave. When elephant is bitten by a tetefly, no response. we don't hedge against tetefly bites. The fact of the matter is that what percentage is your economy in this world and the volume of money that you are hedging?
Right.
You just sneeze and blow you away. So I wouldn't go in that direction. The direction which I want to go in comes back to what my good friends here talked about, which is how do you stabilize and grow the economy? And he used the word blueprint. I wouldn't go as far as that. But what you need is a different framework, are you with me, for investment in development, which does not rely on you borrowing money, are you with me, to put in there, or borrowing money to give to the public sector, hoping that it will increase and then you tax them and put it there. It's not coming. It has not come, and it will never come that way. So it's time to change. And what we are saying is we still have a lot of assets. You leverage those assets to get investment. That does not depend on you borrowing money. There are so many different ways of doing it. It's not a cookie cutter thing. You can do BOT, TOT, whatever. There's so many ways in which you can get investment into growth areas of the economy without borrowing money. The difference is that you now cannot control it completely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a case of borrowing money, we're going to build roads, we're going to build schools, and then half of it disappears. No. Yeah. We're going to invest in this factory. Professor has the money from his country, he's coming, he invests in the factory. We don't touch his money. If anything, we give him more conducive terms to invest in that growth area. And then as the jobs come, we get our taxation, etc. If there's equity, we can say, oh, Prof, as part of that investment, there's so many million tons of this, so we are giving you our rate for what we want out of it. Give us so much now to defray our debt payments, so that give us more fiscal space to be able to do other things, and to do the public sector investments. But you have now taken up this the space to invest in growth areas of the economy. That is the direction we need to go in, and that is where the diversification in the economy will come. That is where the investment in the transport system will come. You know, we can't borrow and invest in all these areas. The people who invested in the railways in the US and all these, were people who had money in London, who sent the money there. Are you with me? And they own it. So we have to come up with different ways of thinking about this investment framework, because if we don't and we keep on this tangent of getting money from IMF to do this, do that, and then finally then you get this much and then you take that one. It is not coming today, it's not coming tomorrow. Why? Because not only does it not trickle down, it trickles up. Secondly, the other effects it has in your economy makes the conditions for entrepreneurs hostile. You and me. So even those people that you say you want to help them to produce ABCD, their conditions are so hostile that if they dare and go and do those things, they will collapse. Are you with me? So we have to think of a different framework altogether. And that is the medium to long term. Now that the NDC, I keep saying NDC, the government of Ghana, are you with me, must now think about that and say, look, guys, we're all Ghanaians. Let's come across the table. We've been doing this. We're not going to stop doing this. We need to do it to survive. Because right now, if you say you're running away from IMF, you won't be able to pay salaries and you won't come to the studio here. You know? So we need to keep on doing that as a means to control our expenditure, are you with me, and shore up our monetary interventions so that it gives some semblance of stability to our currency. It doesn't matter where it is at. What is important is that it is stable and people can plan. Are you with me?
Right.
You can't keep it, you know, if somebody said we'll keep it at 13 for 1 year, or we should keep going and take it down to 5, but it could come up again, I'll say, keep it at 13 for 1 year and leave it instead of pushing it down to 5, because it's like pushing down a calabash in the water. Yes, you can push it down, but unless your hands are on it and you leave it, it will come up. Are you with me?
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
What we have to do now is ensure that we change that framework for investment and begin a new path concurrent with what we are trying to do, so that over time we can change paths. You cannot change paths immediately. You understand? And in any case, you can have multiple tracks that you are producing on, and as you find that you are progressing more along this path more easily, then you can transfer some of your baggage over there. The last thing I want to say about that transport thing, are you with me, is that we are never ever going to get away from having to develop our water and rail. And the longer you take to do it, the more expensive it becomes, and the more opportunity cost it has cost you in the wastage of money on roads and opportunities to make investments, etc., and diminishing your competitiveness in the marketplace. So the earlier you close your eyes and say, look, if I will do nothing in these 4 years but establish a water and rail system, that is what I'm going to do for Ghana. Finished. Yes, they may not praise you immediately, are you with me? But in 5 years' time, they say, hey, without him, this would not have been possible. Without him, this would not have been possible. And the impact will become so pervasive that it is what will secure and underpin all those, expectations that we have. And also, it is what will now stabilize our currency and give it more weight, so that when the wind blows, it doesn't shift so far, because the total GDP growth will be bigger. Are you with me? And if you can triple the GDP growth of Ghana, we're now around $70 billion. If you can take it to 270, 280 billion, you've done something. We're not saying take it to 1 trillion, but at least you've changed the paradigm completely.
Right.
But you cannot get that paradigm changed by doing the same things
all the time. Thank you very much, Dr. Prof. Can you share the report with us? Your report on the performance of the one and the I want us to what's it called? Have a show on that. You and I want to read it. Invite you again. Have a show for you to break it down and explain a lot of things to us. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We are done. We are not off here yet. I have to end the show. But there's a message that I respectfully want to read. This one is from Ernest Davidson. Yomakwe says, it's really exciting listening to all the panel members. Thank you for assembling these dons. I hope the policy makers, as the government, are listening. Kudos. Thank you very much for your message. This one says, good morning to you, Kwame. You have the best panel of the week. Please extend my greetings to them, most especially Doc, sitting next to Prof. So there are two docs. Okay, so I get it. Okay, so that's a Sakara then, because Doc, you are far away from Prof. May we all enjoy the rest of the week. Martin Chiose sent in this one. This one also says, good morning to you, KOD. You have made my day. I'm so glued to your channel this morning. The three doctors and the Prof in your studio are the kind of people you should be bringing more. Very knowledgeable, in-depth analysis and submission. Indeed, you are a serious station. I am Sheriff Fireman from Bipe. Thank you very much. Good morning to you, KOD. Comrades of the NDC, don't help the NPP to get something out. Oh, Massa, we are casting out there. Good morning to Pan-African TV. I really love the presentations of all your panelists today. They are not partisan. Their presentations are very educative. Keep it up. David from Akachi sent in this one. And these are the messages I want to see. You see? Good morning. Atachi, what has he done? Stephen from Kwabenya says, MPP was doing good for oil, but the cedi was still depreciating. Why? Now the cedi is ranked as the best currency in Africa, and they are not happy. Why? KOD, about Dr. Sakara's solution on the water transport. Have you considered the sea, Accra main port to Togo Enclave and Ivory Coast Enclave to improve businesses? Kofi Michaels, sent in this one. And on the 120 days, JM Prof-led government, the optics looks good, but there's no stable, concrete thing yet for us to jubilate about. Remember, Dr. Baumia ever announced to Ghanaians that the dollar was arrested and jailed and the keys thrown into the sea. What followed later? Good morning to you, Gibson from BR, that's Bruno region. All right, the messages are a lot. I can't read all of them. Thank you, Dr. Sakara, for your time this morning. Thank you, Professor Bwedi, for your time. Thank you, Dr. Sylvie. Thank you, Dr. Nia Boy. Thank you to you, most especially, for watching today's edition of Good Morning Africa. I told you, Pan-African television, we they speak sense. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.